friends, Sammy here, and I woke up this morning feeling a bit of an inspiration wash over me, and I wanted to give a little bit of that inspiration and love back out there. So I decided to record this little video. We're gonna do a short yin and meditation practice today. I'm gonna say this morning for me, but maybe it's the afternoon or the evening for you. And before we get started for this practice, I would recommend that you would grab a bolster or maybe a pillow if you have it, as well as some blocks. Maybe it's just an extra blanket, kind of whatever soft coziness that you have around the house. Just gather it and bring it by, and take a moment to kind of get your space set up. We're going to start today's practice in a supported child's pose position. So you can go ahead and just take your bolster or your pillow and place it right underneath your chest, bringing the toes together to touch, and the knees maybe nice and wide, snuggling it in nice and close, sitting up nice and tall, and then gently just walking the top of your body down. You can relax the arms, you can relax the forehead, maybe you turn one cheek or the other to the side. Going ahead and just beginning to connect with the natural rhythm of your breath that rises forward. Taking a big inhale through the nose. And a big open breath out, let it go. Just like that again, big inhale through the nose. And open breath out, let it go. Beginning with a brief body scan. Maybe you take a moment to check in with the physical body, noticing already any sensations or tightness or tensions that may rise and be there. And then looking towards the subtle body, the internal body, maybe it's the emotions, the feelings, sometimes even the thoughts. Allowing yourself to check in, to observe, maybe get a little bit curious today. Few more deep breaths here. If you have your cheek on one side, just gently pick up the head and turn the other cheek. Maybe you take a moment to rise up the chest and sink into the hips a tiny bit deeper, and then relax the chest back down again. My apologies, I should have mentioned this earlier, but if you wanted to put any music or playlist on in the background, maybe take a moment to do that, or if you want to be in silence with yourself today, that's totally cool too. There's this playlist on Spotify I've been listening to all morning. It's so cheesy, but I believe it's called the Warm and Fuzzy or Warm Fuzzy Feelings playlist. Super nourishing. And then from this child's pose position, we'll begin to deepen our breath again here. One more big breath in through the nose. Brief pause at the top. And open breath out. On your next inhale, you can gently begin to walk the chest up. You can remove any props from out of your way, and we'll come into a tabletop position. And right away from this tabletop position, just wiggle those hips side to side. You can have the tops of the feet on the ground, or maybe the toes are tucked, whatever feels comfortable today. And just a gentle rock and roll Pausing in the center, I'll take a couple of cat-cows, flexing the spine, gaze comes forward, and exhaling to round. I'm going to encourage a lot of freedom in your movement today. Maybe you're rocking out the shoulders or taking circles with the wrists. And then from this tabletop position, take a moment to find stillness. We're just going to gently send the right toes back towards the back of your mat. And then lift those right toes straight off the ground, bending at the right knee so the sole of the foot goes towards the floor. We're just going to take gentle circles with that right leg. Circling around in one direction and the other. You can even circle the ankle at the same time and have a little fun with it. Awesome. Place that right knee back down onto the mat tabletop. Take a couple of cat-cows again here. Or again, whatever freedom in your movement that feels good for you. And then pausing in the center. This time we'll send our left foot back. And then gently lifting the left toes off of the ground, bending the left knee, sole of the foot to the ceiling. And we'll take some circles with that left hip, guiding the knee in one direction and then the other. Placing that left knee back on the ground. If you want to take any last minute hip sways side to side or bending at the elbow, circling the wrists before we enter our next posture here. Awesome. Pausing in the center in our tabletop position, we'll send the right toes back to the back of our mat, flexing the right foot. Gently step the left toes over the midline. So we're going to step the left toes over towards the right. Lift that right foot off the ground and then guide the right knee to land snug in next to that left knee. We're going to come into knee over knee and then push that seat back slowly. So I'll show you from the front what that kind of looks like. So we have our left knee over our right knee, kind of as best as we can here. And then allowing the feet to gently, again, best as we can, come in line with one another. We might want to put a blanket underneath that left sits bone to guide that left hip to the floor. Whatever feels most comfortable for you. Sitting up nice and tall here, you can tent the fingers on the ground. Sometimes if I have blocks, I like to kind of just put the blocks behind the soles of my feet so I can drop my shoulders down and sit up nice and tall. When you enter a posture, never feel like you're stuck here. Allow yourself the freedom to kind of wiggle or adjust. Staying here for about a minute or so. And for the last 30 seconds, if you wanted to round the spine and bring the forehead down to the knees, you're welcome to do that. Or maybe stack a couple of blocks right in front of you and bring your third eye, your forehead down to the blocks. And gently inhaling to come back up to sit. We're going to get out of this in any gentle way that feels best for you. So for me, it's just releasing that left leg long, Maybe shaking out the legs, the knees, gonna swim side to side. And swinging the legs around, coming back into our tabletop position. This time, whoop, blocks are in the way for me. This time we're gonna send our left toes back behind us. And then I'll show you the opposite direction here so it makes a little bit more sense. But we send our left toes back. Then we gently just pick up our right toes and cross them over the midline. So we're just bringing our right toes right over to the left. Inhaling our left toes off the floor and then snugging that left knee in behind the right knee. And then that's when we bring our seat all the way back. Sitting up nice and tall. Scooch back. So this time our right knee is over the left knee, again placing a blanket underneath that hip if it might feel comfortable for you today. Bringing the feet in line with each other as best as we can. And then sitting up nice and tall, tenting the fingers. If you use the blocks on the other side, go ahead and grab those blocks again. Maybe placing them behind the soles of the feet. So when I woke up here this morning in Denver, it was about -4 degrees. I was like, that's a new experience for me. It's only supposed to warm up to about 3 degrees today, so we'll see what happens. At least the sun is shining. But with that being said, being the winter months wherever you are, take a little bit time to kind of wiggle your way into these things. The body could be a little bit more tight than normal, or take a little bit more time to warm up. So if you're not kind of feeling the same way as you were, maybe yesterday, or even a couple hours ago, be a little bit gentle with yourself in that. And about a little over halfway through, if you wanted to round the spine and bring the forehead down to the knee, or maybe stack those blocks and drop the chest, I invite you to go ahead and do that here. In less than 30 seconds or so. On your next inhale, beginning to rise the chest up, moving our props out of the way. Slowly releasing that right leg, coming into our tabletop position. Taking a couple of cat-cows or swaying those hips or circling those hips side to side. If your props aren't at the front of your mat, I invite you to take a moment and just slide them up. You might not need them, you might want them. And then meeting back in our tabletop. We're going to tuck the toes under, lift the hips to the sky, and downward facing dog. And pedal it out here, bending one knee and then the other. Pausing in your down dog, 3 breaths, inhaling. And release. Awesome. One more breath here. And as you exhale, gently surrender the knees to the floor tabletop. Send the right toes back, tucking the right toes under. On your next inhale, lift the right toes off of the ground. The leg is long. You're going to sweep the right leg all the way out to the right, stepping the right foot outside of the right pinky finger. From this position here, you might want to take your pillow or your blocks and just place them right on the inside of that right leg. Bringing the palms back down. We're going to go into our runner's lunge here. So the most important thing, making sure that that right knee is stacked over the right ankle. If it feels comfortable, you can gently slide the left toes back. Take a look back, make sure that the left toes are in line with the left knee. And then when you feel ready and comfortable, walking the forearms down to the pillow or the block, just so the forearms have a place to rest and connect. Maybe it's the floor. Sending your breath into that left hip and that left hip flexor, inhaling and releasing. I was journaling this morning after I did a little yoga practice. And in my journal I wrote, I'm learning to be a little more gentle and a little more kind to myself and with myself by allowing myself to soften or soften. I'll just say that again. I am learning to be a little more gentle and a little more kind to myself, with myself, by allowing myself to soften. See what happens when you just start to think about that. Maybe just observing what comes to mind. And on your next inhale, you can plant the palms, gently begin to rise up the chest. Maybe you slide that pillow or bolster box out of the way for a moment. Stepping the right knee to meet the left knee. You can take some cat-cows, you can take some circles, maybe a downward facing dog to sway the hips side to side. And then wherever you are, meeting in downward facing dog, taking it on the opposite side. On the exhale, we'll surrender the knees to the floor, tabletop. Sending the left foot back, tucking the left toes under, and then sweeping that left leg out and around to step the left foot outside of the left pinky finger. Bringing your props over to the inside of that left leg. Honoring that one side might be different than the other. Checking in with the left knee, making sure that the left knee is stacked over the left ankle. Maybe you gently slide the right knee back. Making sure that the right foot is in line with the right knee. And surrendering the forearms down to the props or to the floor. Take a big inhale here. And exhale to release. Sending your breath in the direction of the resistance. Maybe finding a place where you can soften just a little bit more. Maybe it's in the shoulders or in the neck, the jaw. Understanding that just because you're experiencing maybe some tightness or discomfort doesn't necessarily make that thing wrong. Sometimes we just have to check in. Maybe it is that softening that can lighten the experience. maybe it's the first time that we're doing something like this. A few more deep breaths here. Again, where can I soften just a little bit more? On your next inhale, take a brief pause at the top. Open breath out, let it go. Gently planting the palms back onto the floor. Sliding any props out to the side. Gently stepping the left foot back, and maybe it's, again, freedom of your movement. Cat, cow, circles, downward facing dog. Whatever it happens to be today, let it be. Maybe you want to make some waves with your down dog, getting into the shoulders. Again, whatever it is, I encourage it to be your own and to be unique. Taking another 30 seconds or so for movement. And however you would like to make your way there, you can make your way to sit. Bringing the soles of the feet together and the knees nice and wide. I'll give you two options here. You can either take a seated butterfly where the soles of the feet are together, the knees are wide. You could support the knees with a block or maybe a pillow is underneath there. Or you can go ahead and take Supta Baddha Konasana, so bound ankle. So the legs are very similar. You have the soles of the feet together to touch the knees nice and wide, but you could walk the front of the body all the way to lie down. And maybe support the knees with, again, a block or the bolster or a pillow could slide right underneath. Whatever feels best for the hips today. Whichever pose that you're in, allowing the arms to land where they may. If you're on your back, maybe they'll land on the tummy or on the hips. Giving yourself some love and support, or maybe feeling that grounding of the earth beneath. If you're in a seated butterfly position and you want to round the spine and drop the chin in towards the chest, you're welcome to do so. Or maybe, again, stack a couple of blocks out in front of you and rest the forehead onto a block or two. The nice thing about the blocks is they have all different heights. Wherever you're seated, go ahead and place the palms onto the body in any area or any location that might feel comfortable for you. Maybe it's the soles of the feet or the ankles if you're seated, or maybe it's the hips or the belly or the heart if you're lying down. Palms face down onto the body. Feeling the body breathing the natural rhythm of its breath. And then choose one thing, whatever the first thing that comes to mind, to send yourself today. Maybe it's love, or maybe it's nourishment, confidence. It could be a feeling, it could be a sensation, whatever comes to mind. There's no right or wrong. And if you're seated, I invite you to either stay seated or come to lie on your backs. I'm going to move just into a brief meditation here. So if you're lying in Supta Baddha Konasana, you can close your legs like a book, maybe sway the hips side to side. We'll take a minute or so to set ourselves up in a most comfortable position. It could be traditional Shavasana if you want to send the legs out long to either sides of your mat and bring the palms down by your sides face up, or if a seated posture suits you best today, maybe you want to sit up your hips onto a blanket or onto the bolster and sit up nice and tall with the legs loosely crossed in front of you. Wherever you are, allowing the palms to rest on the earth or on the tops of the thighs. Relaxing the shoulders away from the ears. The spine is long and supported. Gently floating the eyes closed if they're not already. Just tuning into the natural rhythm of your breath. So not trying to force or change anything here, just observing. Coming from that place of observation and curiosity. Each day and each moment of every day is an opportunity for us to begin again. And one maybe way to do this could be finding the breath. Maybe the mind starts to wander right away. You can gently invite yourself to come back. I like that my meditation teacher says, it's not about how many times we get lost, but how many times we can invite ourselves to come back, and how gentle and kind we can be with ourselves when we do that. I am learning to be a little more gentle and a little more kind to myself, with myself, by allowing myself to soften into the experiences of both pain and pleasure, recognizing that softening means both surrendering and letting go. I am learning to be a little more gentle and a little more kind to myself, with myself, by allowing myself to soften into the experience of both pain and pleasure, recognizing that softening means to both surrendering and letting go. Taking the opportunity for a few more deep breaths. begin to gently close today's practice by inviting you to stay here, maybe for a few minutes longer if you would like. We're inviting in the breath as our first form of movement by deepening the breath. And then maybe coming to some gentle movement by wiggling the fingers and the toes or gently shaking the head side to side. Remembering that each day and each moment throughout every day is an opportunity to begin again. I thank you all for allowing me to guide this practice today. And I want you all to take a moment to yourselves to silently state one thing you are thankful for or grateful for in this moment for yourself. Namaste.